In a past life, my younger half-sister and I fell into the water together. Wei Juan, the heir to the Marquis of Ningyuan, saved me, but my half-sister tragically drowned. To repay Wei Juan for saving my life, my father arranged for me to marry him. 5 years into our marriage, after inheriting his title, Wei Juan transformed from a loving husband. He falsely accused my father of colluding with enemy nations, leading to the execution of my entire Jiang family. He slit my throat himself. Only as I lay dying did I hear him confess that the one he truly loved was my younger sister. Had I not deliberately fallen into the water that day, disrupting his plans, he would have long since eloped with my sister. Now that my half-sister is dead, he demands our entire family be buried with her. Little does he know, I was framed into that water that day. I knew nothing of his scheme with my half-sister. Returning to the day I fell in, I heard a startled cry and swiftly tripped the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife into the pond. This time, without me there. Let's see if Wei Juan saves his half-sister first. Or his own mother. When the Jiang family faced execution, my father rejoiced that as a married woman, I wouldn't share their fate. Little did he know, if Wei Juan sought the Jiang family's ruin, how could he spare me? As the blade sliced through my throat, I gasped one final question: why? We had been husband and wife for years, always loving and devoted. Why would he suddenly turn against me and the Jiang family, seeking our destruction? Wei Juan held his sword, coldly watching me. Just before my last breath, he finally spoke. Do you remember Jiang Wan? Jiang Wan was my younger sister, the third daughter of the Jiang family. When she was 8, consort Zhao died in childbirth while delivering a son, taking both lives with her. Mother then had her brought to live with me, raising her with the same clothes, food, and care as my own. Later, when the Changi Marquis estate built a new garden, the old lady hosted a banquet. Mother brought both me and my half-sister along. During the garden tour, we both fell into the pond. The pond water was icy cold, and the garden had no rowing boats prepared. The ladies in waiting stamped their feet in panic, while Mother fainted from distress. It was Wei Juan, who had attended the banquet with the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife, who overcame all obstacles and leapt into the pond to rescue me. He then attempted to save my sister, but his strength was exhausted. He could only watch helplessly as she sank to the bottom of the pond, forever separated from the world. By the time Father received word, my younger sister had already drowned. He wept bitterly, gave her a proper burial, and then took me to the Marquis of Ningyuan's residence with Mother. At that time, Father believed Wei Jianan had saved my life, a debt he could scarcely repay. He reasoned that the Wei family's hereditary title had been downgraded and was now in its twilight years. He thought he could secure Wei Juan a good position in the court and have me recognize the Ningyuan Marquis' wife as my adoptive mother. That way, both debts would be settled. But upon arriving at the Ningyuan Marquis' residence, the Marquis' wife spoke constantly of her affection for me and mentioned that Wei Juan was still unmarried. Seeing this, Father promptly arranged my marriage to Wei Juan. They say noble families marry their daughters to high-ranking families, while commoners marry down. Our Jiang family rose to prominence through martial valor, earning merit for supporting the founding emperor. My grandfather rose through the ranks to Grand Tutor, personally enfeoffed by the late emperor as Duke of Qi. After his passing from illness, the late emperor posthumously honored him as Prince of Luling, granted him burial in the imperial mausoleum, and enshrined him in the ancestral temple, a founding statesman of the highest order. By my father's generation, his hereditary title and privileges were secured, passed down without interruption. Barring unforeseen circumstances, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens for the house of Ningyuan Marquis, whose hereditary title had diminished, to seek a marriage alliance with our house of Qi. Precisely because of this, after I married into the Wei family, Wei Wan swiftly rose 3 ranks in the court with the support of my father and brothers, ascending like a rocket. Furthermore, having gained the trust of the current emperor, he was restored to the title of Marquis of Ningyuan, enjoying unparalleled prestige. My mother once sighed before me, openly declaring this marriage a wise choice, an ambitious husband, a doting mother-in-law. My life, she said, would surely be smooth sailing, free from worry. Little did we know, those words still ringing in our ears, Wei Juan's memorial accusing our Jiang family of treason and subversion would reach the emperor's desk. With both witness testimony and physical evidence presented, His Majesty, in a fit of rage, issued an imperial decree ordering the execution of the entire Jiang family. I fear my parents and siblings died without understanding what had transpired. With hatred in my heart, I drew my final breath. If there is a next life, I vow Wei Juan shall meet a miserable end. Miss, wake up quickly. The lady is waiting for you up ahead. We're going to stroll through the gardens at the Marquis of Chang's residence. My heart still seethed with resentment. I thought I would die with unclosed eyes. But suddenly I heard a familiar voice, "Third young miss is waiting outside. Please rise and change your clothes." Young miss. Third young miss? Wei Juyan had only one elder sister, there was no younger sister in his family. Our Jiang family did have a third young miss. But wasn't she drowned? Then where did this third young lady come from? I forced my eyes open to find Xiangzhu, the maid who once served me, standing by my bed, calling my name incessantly. This girl, didn't she die with my mother when the Jiang family was executed? How could she be here? Could it be that after my death, I've reunited with mother and the others? A swarm of thoughts surged into my mind like tangled threads, leaving my head spinning. Xiangzhu, where are we? Has the young lady been dreaming? This is the mistress's chamber, isn't it? Last night you insisted on sleeping with the mistress, refusing to return to your own room. The mistress had no choice but to let you rest in the adjoining alcove. Huh? This feels so familiar. I rubbed my forehead. The warmth and texture under my fingers felt real, it couldn't be. A sudden thought flashed through my mind. Before I could process it, I pushed Xiangzhu aside and rushed to the bedside, pulling back the curtain draped over the mirror. The reflection showed a face with delicate, painted features, my own youthful appearance before marriage. Could it be? Heaven heard my pleas and truly granted me a second life. Reborn? This is truly wonderful news. My parents are still alive. My brother hasn't met with misfortune. And I haven't yet married. Everything is at its best. This time, I will never, ever have anything to do with the Wei family again. Not only that, I would make the Wei family suffer all the torment our Jiang family endured in the past life. Only then could I appease the spirits of my former Jiang family, slaughtered to the last soul. Xiangzhu, hurry and help me change. I must see mother. I dressed with joy. But before I could reach mother, my third younger sister, Jiang Wan, entered. She looked at me and said, "Second sister, you dawdle. I've been waiting for you forever." Only then did I recall that Jiang Wan had also been implicated in the case that led to the Jiang family's execution. As she entered, I couldn't help but scrutinize her closely. In the past, mother feared that her early loss of birth mother might leave her insecure. So she treated me and Jiang Wan equally. Considering Jiang Wan's younger age, she even urged me to yield to her more often. Whatever I possessed, Jiang Wan possessed too. Even what I didn't possess. If Jiang Wan desired it, mother would have it procured for her. Take today, for instance. Mother prepared identical soft blue robes and apricot yellow skirts for both of us. I wore mine, while Jiang Wan had a new pink satin gown embroidered with peony patterns and gilded floral borders made for her, as vibrant as March blossoms. Recalling Wei Jianen's words from my past life, Jiangwan must have already made plans with him by now, that's why she dressed so elaborately. But if I wore blue and Jiangwan wore red, even in the water we wouldn't be mistaken for each other. How could Wei Jianan have saved me? Suppressing my confusion, I met Jiangwan's expectant gaze and asked again, "Third sister, is there something so urgent you can't wait?" Startled by my question, Jiangwan blinked innocently and shook her head. "Nothing at all. Mother is already waiting ahead. If we delay any longer, she'll be anxious." She still wanted to keep it from me. From the Jiang family. Little did she know that with Archduke's mansion's lofty status, even if she wasn't the legitimate daughter, as long as the mansion's plaque remained, marrying into the Wei family wouldn't be difficult. Unless something was amiss with the Wei family. Wei Juan was still a commoner, the head of the household was the Marquis of Ningyuan and the Marquis's wife. His affection for Jiangwan must have been discussed with his family. If they were a respectable household, unconcerned with legitimate or concubine-born status and focused only on the prestige and family values of the Jiang clan, they would be eager to approve this match. It must be that the Marquis of Ningyuan's household disdains Jiangwan for being born to a concubine and has refused consent. With their refusal, Archduke's household naturally wouldn't force our daughter into a marriage beneath her station. That's why Wei Jian and Jiangwan resorted to this desperate measure. I had intended to stop Mother, leaving Wei Jian and Jiangwan scheming to come to naught. But at the last moment, I changed my mind. If I stopped them this time, who knows what other foolish schemes Wei Juan and Jiangwan might concoct next, or what troubles they might stir up. It might be better to go with the flow and turn their plan against them. So, I took Jiangwan's hand and accompanied her to the front hall. Mother was there instructing servants to prepare the wedding gifts, silk robes and jeweled finery. A far cry from the destitution and misery of my past life. My eyes stung, and tears nearly spilled. Unaware of the truth, Mother scolded me playfully. "I told you to sleep early yesterday. But you wouldn't listen. See how you can't get up today? This is only acceptable in our own home. Once you marry into another family as a daughter-in-law, will you still sleep until the sun is high in the sky?" Her words made me laugh. I stepped forward, slipped my arm through hers, and nuzzled her affectionately, coaxing, "Then I'll never marry. I'll stay home forever to care for you and Father." Nice dream. But a girl grows up and must marry. There's no escaping it. Mother pinched my nose with a smile, still treating me like a child. "Not only you, but even our Wanwan will marry once she passes her coming-of-age ceremony. Once you sisters leave home, it'll be hard for Mother to see you again." Jiangwan said nothing, only pressed her lips together in a faint smile. It seemed her mind was made up. She was determined to be with Wei Juan. I silently helped Mother into the carriage. Jiangwan followed behind me, climbing in and sitting down without a word. Her mind was elsewhere. She looked restless throughout the journey. Upon arriving at the Marquis of Changyi's residence, the unease on Jiangwan's face grew more pronounced. She kept scanning the crowd of arriving guests, as if waiting for someone. I knew exactly who she was waiting for, and what she intended to do next. So, just as in my past life, I accompanied Mother inside, my gaze sweeping the crowd. In my previous life, Jiangwan and I were not together when she fell into the water. I heard the cries of alarm, but before I could turn around, someone pushed me from behind, and I too plunged into the water. In that instant of falling, I only remember being pushed by someone wearing a gold-threaded bracelet on their wrist. Everything else was a blank. Now, reborn, I was determined to uncover the culprit who had pushed me into the water. The Lady of Changyi was known for her cheerful disposition and love of socializing, frequently hosting gatherings. Today's garden party alone had invited nearly every prominent family in the capital. The women who accepted the invitations were all adorned in gold and silver, making it quite difficult to spot who wore the gold bracelet with twisted threads. My eyes darted around the dazzling crowd until I found myself nearing the water's edge. Instinctively, I halted, determined not to repeat the misfortune of my past life. But the moment I stopped, a voice called out from behind, "Might that be second Miss Jiang of the Chi Duke's household? Long time no see, how have you been?" Turning toward the voice, I saw Wei Siwei, the twin sister of Wei Juan, gliding toward me arm in arm with their mother, the lady of the Ningyuan Marquis. A pair of twisted silver bracelets gleamed on her wrists, catching the sunlight and blindingly bright. I was startled. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that in my past life, it was she who had pushed me into the water. And yet, after I entered the family, I treated her like a sister. Any item sent from my home that caught her eye, I generously gave to her. It turns out I had been raising a white-eyed wolf. Seeing my silence, Wei Siwei thought I hadn't recognized her. She smiled again and said, "We met once before at the Guide Marquis's residence. Could second Miss have forgotten? I came of age last year and am now of marriageable age. My social circle is no longer what it was in my youth. Thus, when I venture out, I mostly accompany my mother, keeping quiet, still, and unobtrusive to avoid unnecessary trouble. How could I possibly remember a fleeting encounter with her? Besides, in my past life, my mother and I were honored guests, and the Lady of Changi was always by our side. I never exchanged a word with Wei Siwei, nor did we harbor any grudges. Why would she push me into the water for no reason? I pondered this in my heart, and suddenly a bold conjecture formed. Since Wei Wan had secretly pledged himself to Chang Wan, and the Ningyuan Marquis's household disapproved, they would inevitably have someone watching his every move to prevent any further complications between him and Chang Wan. Today at the garden outing, while the Marquis of Ningyuan was absent, his wife brought Wei Juan along. She must have already learned of their intentions. Unable to openly break up Wei Juan and Jiang Wan, she secretly played along with their plan. At the garden gathering, she intended to select another fiancé for Wei Juan, a match pleasing to every member of the Ningyuan Marquis's household. And I was the one she had chosen. That is why they followed closely behind my mother and me. The moment my younger sister fell into the water, they pushed me in too. I recall someone shouting from the shore as I fell, "The Jiang family's daughter has fallen into the water." The one in blue is the Jiang family's daughter. She deliberately omitted the fact that I was the second daughter of the Jiang family, confusing the issue to mislead Wei Juan into rescuing me. As for whether Jiang Wan lived or died, they couldn't care less. After all, Wei Juan was now our Jiang family's savior. No one would blame him for not saving Jiang Wan. Later, thanks to Wei Juan's marriage to me, the Wei family rose from ruin overnight, and Wei Siwei married into a prestigious household as she'd wished. Their calculations were perfect. Yet they reduced our Chi Duke's residence to ruins. I shot Wei Siwei a cold glance, cutting short her attempt at intimacy. "Forgive my poor eyesight, but I don't recognize you." "You?" Wei Siwei stammered, clearly unprepared for the usually gentle second Miss Jiang to so ruthlessly rebuff her. Biting her lip in shame and anger, she was about to speak when the Lady of Ningyuan Marquis beat her to it. Honored guests often forget things. Not recognizing each other is no matter. With frequent visits, familiarity will come naturally. Pulling Wei Siwei closer, she introduced her to me. "This is our daughter, Siwei. She's only 2 years older than you and is also awaiting marriage. If you ever find yourself with free time at home, you're welcome to visit our Ningyuan Marquis mansion and sit with your sister Suiwei for a chat." I remained silent. The Marquis of Ningyuan's wife was famously shrewd. During the years I served as her daughter-in-law, she had manipulated me into using my own dowry to subsidize the household expenses more than once. Not a single word she spoke was without calculation. She was cunning in every way. How could an ordinary person possibly match her? Therefore, I could only remain silent and wait for her to make the first move. I said little, And since the Marquis of Ning Yuan's wife couldn't find a way to engage me in conversation, she naturally stopped trying. She simply asked Wei Siwei to come and play with me. I had important business here, I had no time to waste playing games with others. Seeing Jiang Wan drifting farther from my mother and me, mingling with a few noble ladies and drawing closer to the pond, I hurried to catch up with mother. The Marchioness of Ning Yuan and Wei Siwei also spotted Jiang Wan. Noticing I'd moved away, they quickly followed, pressing close behind me and nudging me toward the water's edge. Knowing their intentions, I naturally guarded against Wei Siwei striking again. Suddenly, a splash and shrieks echoed nearby. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Wei Siwei's hand reach out. Without hesitation, I dodged to the side, simultaneously tripping the Marchioness of Ning Yuan. She tumbled headfirst into the pond, just as I had in my past life. In an instant, both women were in the water, and the shore erupted into chaos. One cried out, "Someone's fallen in." Another shouted, "Help! Quick! Someone help!" Wei Siwei, seeing I hadn't gone in but had pushed her mother instead, turned deathly pale, speechless with shock. Mother heard the commotion and hurried over with the Countess of Changi. Seeing only me standing on the bank, she grabbed my arm and demanded, "Where is your third sister? Where has Wanner gone?" Just as I was about to point her out, a sudden stir arose across the pond. Wei Juan came running from the front courtyard, shed his long robe, and without a second thought, plunged into the water. Seeing this, I immediately shouted for help. "It's my third sister who fell in. Quick! Save my third sister." The one in red is the third young lady of the Duke of Qi's household. The Duke's household will surely reward you handsomely for saving her. Only then did Wei Siwei snap out of her daze. She hurriedly called out from the shore, "Second brother! Second brother! Quick! Save mother!" Mother fell into the water. Her voice was shrill, far more piercing than mine. Moreover, she hadn't even glanced across the river before knowing it was Wei Juan who had jumped in. This proved beyond doubt that she and the Marquis of Ning Yuan's wife had long been privy to Wei Juan and Jiang Wan's scheme. This only strengthened my resolve to make life miserable for both mother and daughter. She shouted loudly, so I shouted louder. My shouts pinned Wei Juan in midstream, trapped between Jiang Wan and the Marquis of Ning Yuan's wife, unsure whom to rescue first. He glanced left at the drowning figure in bright red, then right at the struggling form in dark green. After hesitating, he finally swam toward the Marquis of Ning Yuan's wife. Between his lover and his mother, he chose his mother without hesitation. Later, even if he failed to save Jiang Wan, others would still praise him for his noble character, deep loyalty, and utmost filial devotion. Only Jiang Wan, in both lifetimes, remained the one abandoned. I wonder if my foolish little sister will finally learn her lesson after this ordeal. Among all present, only mother truly cherished Jiang Wan. Upon hearing she'd fallen into the water, she grew frantic, urgently calling for help while insisting on diving in herself. But this was the Changi Marquis' estate, not our Qi Duke's residence, who would heed her commands. Fortunately, I'd been prepared. Upon entering the garden, I'd scouted for suitable tools. Seizing an unguarded moment, I'd hidden a bamboo pole near the rockery by the shore. Now, seeing Wei Jian's decision, I rushed over, grabbed the pole, and thrust it toward Jiang Wan. "Third sister, grab it. I'll pull you up." The pond water was icy cold, and Jiang Wan had been soaking in it until her limbs were nearly stiff. She'd been dreaming Wei Jian would come to her rescue. But now, seeing him turn to save the Marquis of Ning Yuan's wife instead, she floated lifelessly in the water, utterly motionless. Fury surged through me. I jabbed her with the bamboo pole. "Jiang Wan, grab it now or you'll drown. Hurry!" The jab snapped her out of her stupor. She clutched the pole with all her strength. The noble ladies on shore rushed forward, joining me in hauling Jiangwan ashore. Once ashore, Jiangwan coughed up water for a long while. Her expression was neither quite crying nor quite smiling. She kept her head bowed, lost in her own thoughts. The noble ladies on the shore, however, clapped and cheered, convinced they had collectively performed a great act of kindness. They kindly comforted Jiangwan. They say those who survive great calamities are destined for future blessings. Don't be afraid, Sister Wan. Great fortune awaits you ahead. The two young ladies of the Changi Marquis' household even kindly instructed their maids to fetch garments from their own chambers and those of the Marquis' wife, offering them to Jiangwan and the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife to change into. Jiangwan said nothing, following the maids to change her clothes. I thanked the noble sisters who had assisted us on her behalf. Mother visibly relaxed. Once Jiangwan had finished washing and dressing, she took both my hand and hers, bidding farewell to the Countess of Changi. She stated plainly that Jiangwan must have been deeply frightened by the drowning incident and that upon returning home, they would not only seek a physician but also consult a Taoist priestess. Truth be told, the Countess of Changi was also quite shaken. In my previous life, Jiangwan and I had both fallen into the water. Though I was rescued, Jiangwan had perished in their garden. The Changi Earl's household, fearful both of Jiangwan's lingering spirit and of retribution from Archduke's residence, became timid and cautious. They ceased all contact with our household thereafter, causing Mother and I to miss out on much news from the aristocratic circles. This time, it was Jiangwan and the lady of the Marquis of Ningyuan who fell into the water. Though the Marquis of Ningyuan's household was no longer as opulent as before, they were still a family holding a noble title. If the lady of the Marquis of Ningyuan truly met with misfortune at the Earl of Changi's residence, the Earl's title would likely be revoked before his heir could inherit it. Should Jiangwan meet with misfortune, it would retrace the path of my past life, severing all ties between the Changi Marquis' residence and the Duke of Qi's mansion. Fortunately, both Jiangwan and the lady of Ningyuan Marquis suffered only minor injuries from swallowing a few mouthfuls of pond water. The lady of Changi Marquis, having endured a false alarm, wiped her brow as she saw us off, passing by the side chamber where the lady of Ningyuan was resting. Even through the window, one could sense the resentful glances exchanged between her and Wei Siwei. I lowered my head and saw Jiangwan still peering into the room incessantly, as if waiting for Wei Juan to emerge and offer her an explanation. It seemed the pond water hadn't cleansed her mind, rather, it had only muddled her further. Yet one thing perplexed me deeply. Jiangwan had been raised alongside me since age 8, under my mother's constant guidance. Every word and deed was shaped by her teachings, and she was always accompanied by wet nurses and maids when out. By all logic, she should never have engaged in improper conduct with Wei Juan. When exactly had they become involved? After much deliberation, I summoned Xiang Zhu. The Duke of Qi's household was vast and complex, with numerous servants and hundreds of residents. Even with Mother's strict management, oversights were inevitable. Who knew what absurd deeds those servants had committed behind their masters' backs? I had never understood the hardships of managing a household until I married into the Wei family, deceived by the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife into taking on the role. I finally grasped the detestable nature of troublesome servants. One grain feeds 100 kinds of people. If a noble lady like Jiangwan could commit the shameful act of secretly pledging her life to another, what of the household servants? Sure enough, when I inquired, Xiang Zhu stammered for a long while before finally admitting, if there are unsavory matters in the mansion, there are indeed 2 or 3. A few young servants following the second master secretly found him a mistress behind the second lady's back. Now she lives under some pretext at our country estate outside the city. It was one of the servants who let it slip after drinking too much, accidentally letting the maidservant by the second lady's side find out. There was quite a commotion over it. Somehow it was hushed up, never reaching the ears of our Duke and Duchess. Another matter, Shower, the senior maid serving third lady, has reached marriageable age. Though a match has been arranged by the family, Shower refuses to go. Third lady has appealed to Our Lady, asking her to find a suitable young man from the household of the attendant matron to marry Shower instead. Second uncle declined the dukedom and took a minor post in the court, spending his days idly playing with cats and walking dogs. But second aunt has a strong personality, and the couple often quarrel. Even with 4 children, second uncle still cheats on her, shameful indeed. No wonder they dare not mention it to father. Third aunt, on the other hand, possessed a gentle nature. Yet such kindness carried its own drawbacks. She failed to discern right from wrong, allowing servants to deceive her. I've seen that shower girl, all coquettish and affected. Nothing but a sweet-talking mouth. Utterly cunning and flattering. She wasn't disdainful of the match arranged for her. She wanted to be third aunt's son's concubine. Only third aunt couldn't see through her. These are matters of the 2 western branches. Let's set them aside for now. I ask you this, is there not a single sordid affair within our own quarters? Take, for instance, the young men attending father, the maids serving mother, or those attending third young miss. Are there any matters I remain unaware of? Well, there are some. But they are all minor matters. Xiangzhu dared not speak further. I gave her a cool glance. Know this, how many great matters begin with small ones? 1,000-mile dike collapses from an ant's hole. If we wish for lasting prosperity, we must nip problems in the bud. Tell me now, whether the matter is great or small. I shall decide. Yes. Xiangzhu responded before continuing. The Duke knows how to use people well. I've never seen anyone close to him cause trouble. Madame is kind and generous. Yet her maids are fiercely capable. None dare scheme against her. Only in the eldest master's quarters. The third young lady's quarters. And here with us, where everyone feels secure in their positions. And the masters and young ladies are so forgiving that even minor faults go unmentioned. Have problems arisen? The eldest master's servant lends money at usurious rates outside. The sums vary, but it's simply not proper. Third miss is young, but her maids are older. With so many young masters and mistresses in the household, it's inevitable they'll have their affairs behind closed doors. As for our place, I'm not one to say, but the young mistress really ought to carry herself with more dignity. Otherwise, if she comes asking for things today and demanding favors tomorrow, what does she take this place for? As for the eldest master's servant, I'll have him disciplined by the eldest master myself. 2 of Jiangwan's senior maids are nearing 20. If they aren't married off soon, they'll become spinsters. It's understandable they'd want to secure a good match for themselves. But to drag Jiangwan into her first stirrings of romance, even conspiring with Wei Juan, that's their fault. They should be dismissed by mother. As for my own servants, no one dares come begging or extorting money, except my 2 wet nurses. In the past, out of gratitude for their nurturing, I turned a blind eye to their occasional misdeeds, letting them get away with it. But recalling how Wei Jian could so easily plant incriminating evidence in the Duke of Qi's residence in my past life, slandering the Jiang family for treason, it must have been someone within the household aiding him. This leaves me no choice but to steel my resolve and assist mother in thoroughly reforming the Duke's residence. Having passed the age of coming of age, managing household affairs was a skill I ought to learn. Thus, when mother saw me seeking tasks, she did not think much of it. Instead, she said with relief, I've long hoped for someone to lend a hand, to manage the household and spare me from excessive toil. Alas, back then your second aunt quarreled with your second uncle, and your third aunt was too gentle to command the servants. Only Aunt Zhao could lend a hand, but she passed away too soon. I had considered having you and Warner take over, but feared your youth might make it hard to manage the servants, and also wished to let you enjoy a few more carefree years at home. Now that you express this desire yourself, it is all the better. I've summoned the maids and attendants who usually serve her and assigned them to you. I've been unwell these past few days. Should any urgent matters arise, report them to second miss. Whatever she instructs you to do, you must obey. If I discover you've failed in your duties or disobeyed her, regardless of any past favors, I shall dismiss you without hesitation. Is that understood? The maids and attendants chorused their agreement. Mother then assigned me 2 senior maidservants. These 2 have been trained by my own hand and served me longest. Should you encounter anything unfamiliar, or if I am absent, consult them. Yes, Mother. I bowed in acknowledgement and led the procession of matrons, maids, and servants out of the main courtyard. First, I summoned the matrons and maids in charge of each household. Those fit for duty were kept, the rest were given menial tasks and sent to the secondary gate. Those who had been slacking off, gambling, or drinking were all punished. Those who could be dismissed were sent away, while those who couldn't were taken home by their families for proper discipline. Next came Jiang Wan's quarters. I ordered her room moved into the same courtyard as mine. Her 2 senior maids were replaced with 2 junior maids. While Mother remained silent about these sweeping changes, Jiang Wan was the first to protest, storming over to vent her anger at me. Sister, now that you're helping Mother manage the household, you've become quite the authority, even meddling in my servants' affairs. You dismissed my senior maids and gave me 2 inexperienced little ones. How am I supposed to manage them? Are you using me as a stepping stone? Deliberately showing off your power to the household? I smiled. Your 2 maids are getting too old. Their parents have come to the mansion several times, begging to take them back to arrange marriages. I replaced them with 2 young maids. Now they can learn from the senior maids, so they'll be useful in the future. Besides, we're both young ladies destined to marry soon. With only a few years left at home, wouldn't it be nice to spend more time chatting and staying together? If you find the little maids unsuitable, my senior maids aren't yet of marriageable age. Call upon any of them as you wish. Jiang Wan had no reply. Living secluded in the Duke's mansion, she somehow managed to strike up a conversation with an outsider, arranging to meet at the Changi Marquis' residence where she fell into the water and was rescued, sealing their lifelong bond. To claim none of the senior maids assisted her in this, I don't believe it for a moment. Such a two-faced creature would be a disaster in any household. That she still wishes to keep him close suggests she hasn't fully severed ties with Wei Jian. How could I allow her to meet him again? Inviting a wolf into our home? Sister, you are of marriageable age now, and your betrothal will soon be arranged. By rights, it shouldn't be me, an unmarried elder sister, who speaks to you of these matters. But if I remain silent, I fear you might remain unaware. Though we weren't born from the same womb, we were both raised by Mother, like our eldest brother. Once we leave home, outsiders will speak of us as children of the Duke, no difference. When it comes to marriage, Father and Mother will certainly plan wisely for your future. Until then, wouldn't it be best for us to live together, learning household management side by side? Jiang Wan seemed deep in thought. After a moment, just as I thought she had understood, she said, "How could I be the same as second sister? She was born to Mother, while I was born to a concubine. We were born worlds apart. Second sister doesn't need to choose a husband, suitors practically come knocking at her door. And me? As a daughter of a concubine? Even if Father and Mother make every possible arrangement for me, others still see me as inferior to a legitimate daughter. I can only rely on myself to find a good match." I've exhausted my words. Yet she cares only about the opinion of the Ningyuan Marquis' household. I wonder what kind of love potion that Wei Jianin gave her, making her so desperate to marry him that she's willing to sacrifice her virtue. No, Jiang Wan is foolish, but I won't follow her into foolishness. Returning to my quarters, I summon Xiang Zhu, instruct the 2 maids sent to third young lady's room to record everything she sees and does. Also, Gather the maids who served her before, I have questions for them. Xiangzhu nodded. Then asked curiously, has something happened in third young lady's quarters? I couldn't tell Xiangzhu, I didn't even know how to broach the subject with mother or father. Without proof. It would seem I was deliberately slandering Jiangwan. With so many ears and eyes in the household. If even a whisper leaked out, the young ladies of the Jiang family would be ruined. Mother's reputation would be tarnished too. After all, Jiangwan was registered under her name, raised entirely by her hand. Now that Jiangwan had been caught consorting with a man outside the family, wouldn't it be like telling everyone mother had failed in her upbringing? This matter must not be made public. Lately, I've been managing the household affairs. My eldest brother and I can handle things. But third sister is young and easily influenced. I must keep a closer eye on her. Xiangzhu seemed to grasp the gravity, though she was sharp and meticulous in her duties. Nothing I entrusted her with ever went wrong. She discreetly ushered several senior maids from Jiangwan's quarters into the room. I then ordered the matrons to seal off the courtyard, barring entry to outsiders, and summoned the two maidservants mother had given me to listen in. The senior maids had heard I was assisting mother with household management. When I summoned them, they assumed I was assigning them some favorable task. Little did they expect that the moment they entered, I ordered them to kneel. You all appeared proper and dutiful in my presence, I said. Yet behind my back, you committed such despicable acts. Speak! What exactly did you do while aiding third young miss? The senior maids exchanged glances, their expressions flitting with alarm, yet clinging to a sliver of hope. They stubbornly deflected my direct questioning. We are servants to third young miss. Naturally, we assist her with dressing, ablutions, and cleaning her quarters. What might second young miss mean by this inquiry? Maids grow older, and their minds grow more cunning. To dare deceive their superiors at such a critical juncture. I signaled to Shu to retrieve the indenture. Our Duke of Qi household is a decent family. Though we do not engage in violence, we will not tolerate deceit. If you do not confess honestly, the household can no longer keep you. You will be sent elsewhere. As for where that might be, I needn't say, they know full well it won't be a pleasant place. Nor will they ever again encounter masters as kind-hearted as ours. Only then did the senior maids grow fearful. They glanced at each other hesitantly, none willing to speak first, yet none daring to remain silent. I waved my hand, signaling Xiangzhu to lead two of the maids to the next room, leaving only Qiushi behind. One by one, I instructed. If you speak well, I shall reward you. Not a word of this will reach third sister. Qiushi, who attended third sister in her chambers, immediately threw herself to the floor in kowtows, pleading, Second miss, spare my life. None of this is my doing. Ever since third miss visited the guide Marquis' estate and met their young lady, she's been like a different person. She constantly has us find a boy to buy her storybooks. Once she gets them, she reads all night long. If she doesn't read for a day, she loses her appetite and can't eat or drink. What kind of storybooks are so addictive? This servant doesn't know either. I only occasionally hear third young lady muttering while reading about distinctions between legitimate and illegitimate children. How marriage depends entirely on one's own efforts. Tales of talented scholars and beautiful maidens. And how we too are destined to be apart. All sorts of things, this servant can't recall them all. No wonder third young miss spoke of legitimate versus illegitimate birth. And how they were worlds apart. It all came from these books. Where are those books now? After third young miss finishes them, she keeps them in her bedside cabinet. I'll have Xiangzhu find the maid assigned to third young miss and retrieve the books for me when she's not looking. Then I summoned Chenhua and demanded, you tell me, how did third young lady first meet the Ningyuan Marquis' heir? Wei Shi? One wrong word, and I'll have you sold off. Chenhua. unaware what Xiushi had already confessed to me. Spilled everything like beans from a bamboo tube when I threatened her. It was during the Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the first month. Our young lady lost her handkerchief, and the young master picked it up. Later, when the young master returned, our young lady went to retrieve it herself. And that's how they became acquainted. Dong Rong added, after that, our young lady and the young master often exchanged private letters. The young master told her he would marry her and asked her to wait. But his family never agreed. Our young lady couldn't wait any longer. So she and the young master plotted several times, scheming to secretly pledge their lives to each other and make the rice cooked into a done deal. What a tale of a beauty's lost handkerchief stirring longing. What a pair of desperate lovers, moving heaven and earth. Is this what the storybook teaches? My curiosity about that storybook grew even stronger. The maid sent by mother had heard every word from start to finish. The two of them never imagined such a scandal could erupt within the mansion. They stared at me in shock, at a loss for words. I kept them here precisely to serve as witnesses. Now that the truth had come to light, I said, you two sisters heard it with your own ears. My third sister secretly pledged herself to another behind our backs, bringing shame upon all the women of this household. In any ordinary family, drowning her in the pond would be no exaggeration. But she was raised by my mother's own hands, and she is my blood-related sibling. I do not wish for her death, nor do I wish to bring disgrace upon the Duke of Chi's residence. This matter must be resolved. Upon hearing this, the two maids hurriedly asked, what do you intend to do, miss? I summoned Chunhua, Qiushi, and Dongrong and instructed them carefully. What happened today must remain within these walls. Not a word is to be spoken outside. You did well this time, you said what needed to be said. Third sister trusts you deeply. Last time she even came to ask me to let you return. Whatever third sister instructs you to do upon your return, you must obey. Just remember to come report to me immediately afterward. If not, should anything go wrong, I will hold you accountable. Chunhua and the others dared not refuse at this moment. Hastily agreeing, Jiangwan was now utterly captivated by that scandalous romance novel, her heart wholly consumed by her love affair with Wei Juan. Having failed last time, she would surely try again. To sever this affair, this was the only chance left. Soon, a young maid secretly brought the book to me. I flipped through it. The handwriting in that romance novel was sloppy and weak, hardly resembling that of a well-read scholar. Yet to say he was uneducated would be wrong. His choice of words and phrasing had moments of merit, though sadly wasted on writing about fleeting pleasures. Moreover, the text contained many unorthodox ideas, urging people to disregard marital fidelity, ignore social norms, neglect official careers, and forsake filial piety and virtue. Its sole focus was on the relentless pursuit of one's true love. It disregarded the strict boundaries between men and women, depicting meetings as nothing but sweet nothings and embraces, casting all proper decorum and etiquette aside for the sake of two lovers staying together forever. It also touched upon distinctions of birth and status, portraying the wealthy and powerful as utterly repulsive. Anyone who stood in their way was portrayed as vicious, cruel, and brutal. Even parents and close relatives could become bitter enemies. Such a perverse book had actually found its way into the hands of young ladies confined to their chambers. Who knew how many, upon reading it, would become as madly obsessed as third sister, losing their way and straying onto the wrong path? I handed the book back to the little maid, instructing her to return it exactly as it was to Jiangwan's cabinet. I summoned Xiang Zhu and had her find the shop boy who had sold the book to Jiangwan, instructing him to buy several copies for me as well. Xiang Zhu, well aware of the book's pernicious influence, urgently cautioned me. Third young miss lost all sense of propriety after reading that book and nearly caused a scandal. You mustn't read it. I nodded. I never intended to read it myself. I only kept it as evidence for father and mother. With both witness testimony and physical proof secured, all that remained was for third sister to be exposed. I'd hinted at it several times, both openly and subtly, and tried persuading her repeatedly. But Jiangwan wouldn't listen. Instead, she called me old-fashioned and boring, some kind of feudal moralist. Second sister, I asked, are you just waiting for father and mother to arrange a marriage for you? To marry blindly, without even meeting the person? Don't you want to find someone you love, bear his children, and spend your life with him? If she could find someone she truly loved and both families approved, that would be ideal. If not, I'd rather she marry someone from a well-known, equally matched family, a proper wife, than secretly pledge herself to another like this. Neither wife nor concubine. Our paths diverge. Second sister, we see eye to eye on nothing. There's no need for further discussion. Jiangwan's face hardened, clearly signaling she intended to sever ties with me. I urged her one last time, Jiangwan, you are a Jiang. The daughters of the Jiang family share in each other's honor and disgrace. I hope you will consider before acting whether your actions might bring shame upon the Jiang name, or whether your selfish desires might drag down all the sisters of this household. Jiangwan ignored me. 2 days later, I received word from Chenhua and Chishir. Jiangwan had once again become involved with Wei Juan. Furious, I decided to cut the Gordian knot. I bluntly instructed a maid to tell Jiangwan if the Wei family still hadn't consented to her marriage with Wei Juan, she should persuade him to abandon the marquisate wealth and prestige and elope with her to another province. Blinded by love, Jiangwan actually heeded Chenhua and Chishir's advice. She wrote to Wei Juan, arranging the time and place for their elopement. I obtained that letter, made an exact copy to send to the Ningyuan Marquis' residence, and kept the original, along with the forbidden book. I handed them to the maid sent by mother. Go tell mother. Third sister has grown up. Our household can no longer keep her. The maids departed with their orders. Upon seeing the letter and the book, and hearing their account, mother nearly fainted from shock. She summoned me urgently. Warner has committed such foolishness. Why didn't you tell me sooner? How could you conceal this until now? Send someone to watch her at once. It's too late to watch her now. Even if you keep her under guard, you can't guard her heart. So we just let her run wild? She may have no shame, but this Duke of Qi household still has honor. Mother was so enraged she spoke harshly to Jiangwan for the first time. I hurried to calm her. Mother, please compose yourself. The Crown Prince Wei may not honor the meeting. Even if he does, he won't agree to leave with third sister. From what I know of Wei Juan, he's a man of considerable ambition. Even if he's deeply in love with Jiangwan, he'd likely be unwilling to give up the wealth and honor within his grasp. As I expected, Wei Juan arrived alone, carrying no belongings. Whatever he said to Jiangwan caused her form to sway in the moonlight. Her voice rising sharply, I abandoned my parents and left my home for you. And now you say you won't go? Wei Lang, how heartless you are. You're the heartless one, I retorted. For a man, you've cast aside your parents, siblings, and all sense of propriety and decency. Mother stormed out of the darkness in fury. I couldn't hold her back, so I had the maids restrain Wei Juan and Jiangwan. Wei Juan tried to flee, but one of my maids kicked him square in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground. I wished I could have beaten him to death. Jiangwan, terrified, began to cry. She begged mother for mercy while pleading with me, sister, spare him. It's all my fault. Even now, she remains stubbornly deluded. I stared coldly at Wei Juan. Such an irresponsible, ungrateful man. I couldn't fathom what Jiangwan ever saw in him. Jiangwan, kind words cannot save the damned, mercy cannot save those who choose their own destruction. You've repeatedly consorted with other men, bringing shame upon us. The Jiang household can no longer shelter you. Now, we give you a choice: return to your ancestral village to marry a scholar's family as his legitimate wife for life, or feign death to escape the Duke of Qi's estate. From then on, you may fly together with the Wei crown prince. But remember, whether rich or poor, you shall never set foot in the Jiang household again. Jiang Wan wept uncontrollably, her gaze shifting between her mother and Wei Juan. After a long, agonized moment, she collapsed to the floor, sobbing as she kowtowed to her mother. "Mother," she choked out, "consider me never born. You fool." Her mother began weeping too, pointing at her tearfully. "Do you know what your birth mother told me before she died? She said she'd been betrayed by her own parents all her life, never able to choose her own path. But she was fortunate to be sold into our household, to serve me and the Duke, and to bear you. She had few regrets in life, only that I raise you well and marry you to a good family as a legitimate wife, so you might live a life of ease and happiness. I've arranged so many matches for you, families far superior to the Marquis of Ningyuan's, many willing to take you as their legitimate wife. How could you be so foolish as to elope? Do you understand? A betrothed wife becomes a concubine through elopement. How can you face your dead mother like this? I know mother arranged many matches for me, but I only love Wei Lang. Wei Lang and I truly love each other. Mother, please grant us your blessing." "Yes, madam. I love Wanner and will treat her well. Please grant us your blessing." "You too." Mother looked at Jiang Wan and Wei Juan, utterly baffled by the world today. Unmarried young people show no restraint, instead shamelessly courting behind their parents' backs. You two have joined together without a matchmaker, living together without name or status. What kind of respectable gentlemen and noble ladies are you? Even if I grant you my blessing, will the Ningyuan Marquis' household grant you theirs?" Jiang Wan remained silent, her sobs echoing across the courtyard. Mother, unable to persuade her further, was too grief-stricken to speak. She waved at me and retreated to the carriage. I sighed, signaling the maids to release their grip. From that day onward, the Jiang family had no third daughter. Whether Jiang Wan lived or died, whether she remained with Wei Juan or parted ways, none of it concerned our Qi Duke's residence anymore. The Marquis of Ningyuan's household should not imagine that one Jiang Wan could ever hold sway over our Jiang family. Return and announce to the outside world, third young miss has contracted a dreadful illness beyond cure and has been sent to her ancestral home for burial. Should anyone ever mention third young miss again, tell them they were mistaken. Jiang Wan's sudden passing came as such a shock, not just to outsiders, but even to the second and third branches within our own household. The younger sisters from both branches came running to me, weeping uncontrollably. They had been very close to third sister when she was alive. Her abrupt death, without even a final farewell, left them utterly heartbroken. I patted the younger sisters on the shoulder. They still didn't realize they'd walked right up to the edge of a cliff, nearly dragged into the water by Jiang Wan. Fortunately, that danger had been resolved. They were still respectable young ladies of the Duke of Qi's household. But with Jiang Wan's example before us, I couldn't help but be cautious. I took the opportunity to visit my sister's chambers more often, observing their attendance and checking if they'd read any inappropriate books. As for the Ningyuan Marquis' residence, without the Qi Duke's backing, Wei Juan couldn't secure an official post through my father and brother's recommendations, as he had in my previous life. To pursue a career in the civil service, he had to take the imperial examinations himself. But the imperial examinations demanded immense effort. Wei Juan was supporting Jiang Wan outside the home, and with the two of them deeply in love, how could he possibly focus on his studies? In the first year's spring examinations, he failed. The news arrived just as I was preparing for my betrothal. This time, mother learned from Jiang Wan's lesson. She didn't just consider family background, she also scrutinized the suitor's character. After days of careful selection, she finally found a suitable match. Yet chaos erupted outside. Rumors spread like wildfire. A Jiang family daughter had become the concubine of the Ningyuan Marquis' heir. The gossip was so vivid and detailed that all the Jiang daughters were furious. Who is spreading these lies about us? If I find out, I'll tear their mouths to shreds. The Marquis of Ningyuan's heir is morally corrupt himself, not even married to his proper wife yet, and already keeping a mistress. Now that trouble's brewed. He wants to use our Duke of Qi household as a shield? How utterly shameless. The younger sisters chattered incessantly, but Mother and I remained silent. The maids who accompanied Mother and me when we sent off Jiangwan that day were all sworn to secrecy. Under the pretext of escorting Jiangwan's coffin back to her hometown, they were sent back to the Jiang family residence. Outsiders, unaware of the truth, assumed the third daughter of the Jiang family had passed away. Among the remaining daughters, the eldest had long been married off, while the fourth, fifth, and sixth daughters had not yet reached the age of coming of age. Only I, the second daughter of the Jiang family, had passed the age of coming of age and was in the midst of marriage negotiations. Now, with such rumors circulating, it was blatantly aimed at me. This matter was undoubtedly connected to the Ningyuan Marquis' residence. For besides my mother and me, only Wei Jianin of the Ningyuan Marquis' residence knew that Jiangwan was still alive. Mother's face turned ashen. She flung her handkerchief aside and screamed, "You heartless, treacherous creature! It wasn't enough to ruin one daughter, now you seek to destroy another." The Ningyuan Marquis' household schemes like this, fearing no retribution. If they truly feared retribution, they wouldn't have plotted against me from the start. The memory of the Marquis' wife's calculating expression sends a chill down my spine. That woman is too cunning to be trusted. She must have known Wei Juan was sheltering Jiangwan outside the estate, which is why she dared spread those rumors, waiting for our Jiang family to step forward and deny them. To prevent us from disowning her and turning against us, she must hold some leverage over him. I recalled the bundle Jiangwan carried when she fled, mostly her everyday clothes, jewelry, and those few forbidden books she treasured above all. The clothes were from tailors, the jewelry bought from shops. Nothing there could prove her true identity. What else could the Marchioness of Ningyuan possibly hold over her? As I sat lost in thought, I caught my reflection in the mirror and suddenly realized, perhaps I'd been mistaken. The Lady of Ningyuan might not hold Jiangwan's secrets at all. If she dared come after me, it meant she held my secrets instead. "Xiangzhu! Xiangzhu!" I called out loudly, startling Xiangzhu, who rushed in, asking, "What is it? What is it? Has anyone been in my room lately? Search carefully, is anything missing?" Xiangzhu looked utterly bewildered. "What could be missing, miss? You've been managing the household lately. Servants have been reporting to you, and many have come calling, though mostly in the outer courtyard. Besides us regular attendants and the wet nurse, no one else has entered your rooms. The maid's indentured contracts are all in my possession. They can't cause much trouble. But the wet nurse..." I hurriedly opened the cabinet doors, rummaging through each item one by one. Only at the very end did I discover that several things were indeed missing. Several gold hairpins, jade bracelets, and even the filigree gold phoenix hairpin inlaid with jewels, a gift from Her Majesty the Empress Dowager on the day of my coming-of-age ceremony. All the guests at the ceremony had seen it. Now, it's gone. Xiangzhu, take a few maids and bring the wet nurse here. Send word to my brother that our household has been robbed. Have him bring men to keep the wet nurse's son under surveillance while others pursue the thief. Make as much noise as possible, but do not report it to the authorities. If you know who stole the items, why not report it to the authorities? Could it be you fear exposing family shame? Exposing family shame is the least of my concerns. I fear we've fallen into the Ningyuan Marquis' trap. If the wet nurse's son is sent to the magistrate's office, What if they collude and claim I gave the items to him to deliver to Wei Juan? Then it would be like the thief crying "Stop thief," only cementing the rumor that the Jiang family's daughter is someone's mistress. Besides, I have old garments I no longer wear. A missing piece or two would go unnoticed. If they tamper with the garments, embroidering my name upon them, the two pieces will corroborate each other. I'd be as good as dead, even if I jumped into the Yellow River to wash myself clean. They want the Duke of Qi's household to swallow this bitter pill. Not only did we lose our third daughter for nothing, but now we must marry off our second daughter to a lesser match? They must be dreaming. Now, I'll make the Marquis of Ningyuan's household suffer a similar injustice by not reporting it to the authorities but creating a huge commotion over the theft. Even if the Marquis of Ningyuan's household is clutching my golden hairpin, they won't dare bring it out. It's also thanks to the second and third branches stirring up trouble during the chaos. As soon as we mentioned losing things, people from the second and third branches hurriedly claimed they'd lost things too. Second uncle claimed he lost some banknotes and several antique collectibles. I didn't even need to investigate to know he'd taken those to his mistress. Third aunt's quarters actually did suffer losses. Several pieces of jewelry and ornaments vanished. Truly, it's the thieves within the family who are hardest to guard against. I held back from reporting it to the authorities because I had other plans. Yet they tried to take advantage of the chaos, hoping to slip through undetected. So I had the maids and servants summon several senior maids from Third aunt's quarters. After a taste of punishment followed by a reward, the maids confessed and revealed where the hidden items were stashed. After all this commotion, word spread overnight throughout the noble circles that the Duke of Qi's residence had been robbed. This news even overshadowed the earlier rumors about the Jiang family's daughter becoming someone's concubine. After expressing sympathy for us, everyone rushed to tighten security at their own homes, fearing they might lose even the slightest thing. At the birthday celebration for the old lady of the Pingguo Marquis' residence, someone even asked me what exactly had been stolen and whether the thieves had been caught. I shook my head. The thieves hadn't been apprehended, but fortunately, only a few precious jewels and ornaments were missing. I had already notified the local officials to investigate those with sticky fingers and inquire about the whereabouts of those jewels. The Marchioness of Ningyuan looked rather displeased. Having failed twice to scheme against me, she was understandably frustrated. It was all my wet nurse's foolishness. Her son, who used to merely enjoy a drink or two, had recently developed a gambling addiction. At first, he managed small wins, but then came a string of losses. He gambled away his entire fortune and still couldn't cover his debts. So he turned his sights on me. Knowing his mother served as my wet nurse and that our Duke of Qi household valued propriety, treating wet nurses with great respect, he persuaded her to steal my belongings. He planned to pawn them for silver, win money, redeem them, and quietly return them to my cabinet. Little did he expect the scheme to unravel so swiftly. When my eldest brother caught the wet nurse's son, the boy was still pleading for another chance, promising that the moment he won at the gambling den, he'd redeem the jewelry for me. The wet nurse wept bitterly with regret, saying she had no face to show me or my mother. I questioned her closely about when her son had taken up gambling. The timing matched precisely. It began after Jiang Wan's fake death and before my betrothal negotiations. This was a masterfully orchestrated scheme, not entirely the work of the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife. She was the type to scheme within the inner quarters, but rarely associated with the lowly outside world. Such a despicable and shameless act felt more like Wei Juan's style. My heart trembled. Hadn't Wei Juan finally gotten his wish to be with Jiang Wan in this life? Why would he scheme against me? Could it be that he, the secret guard I'd stationed in the suburbs to watch Wei Juan and Jiang Wan, has returned? Having received my letter, he rushed here at dawn to report, the Wei heir is still living with that concubine, though they're no longer inseparable as before. Out of 5 days, he's absent for 2 or 3. I've discreetly followed him twice and saw him return to the Ningyuan Marquis' estate. The Wei family has more than just Wei Juan as its male heir. If he were to sever ties with the Wei clan over a concubine, there would be plenty of others ready to take his place as the family's main branch. His return likely means more than just appeasement and submission. Behind the scenes, he must have struck a deal with the Marquis of Ningyuan and the Marquis's wife. Jiang Wan remains his concubine, while he takes another wife as his legitimate spouse. Pity Jiang Wan, who turned her back on the splendor and wealth of the Duke of Qi's residence to soar side by side with Wei Juan. I wonder how she would feel if she knew of Wei Juan and the Marquis of Ningyuan's plans. I tapped my cup. As long as the Marquis of Ningyuan's residence remains, I cannot find peace. I had reckoned that Wei Wan's attachment to romantic entanglements would prevent him from passing the imperial examinations. Even if he succeeded, my father and brothers in the court could suppress him. Then the Marquis of Ningyuan's estate would have no title to inherit, and Wei Wan would have no office to advance to. Over time, without firing a single shot, the Marquis of Ningyuan's estate would wither away on its own. But now it seems this plan is too drawn out, so drawn out that unforeseen variables could arise at any moment. Continue monitoring Wei Jianan. Observe where he goes, whom he meets, and what he delivers. In my previous life, Wei Jianan falsely accused our Qi Duke's residence of treason and collaboration with the enemy. The incriminating evidence was laid bare before the emperor himself. How did he obtain something our residence never possessed? And from whom did he acquire it? These are mysteries that demand urgent unraveling. Another matter, Wei Jianan's sudden return to the Ningyuan Marquis residence to conspire with his mother against me is deeply suspicious. Could he, too, have been reborn like me? No. I cannot sit idly by, merely defending without attacking. With the Marquis of Ningyuan's household pressing so relentlessly, they won't relent unless taught a lesson. I recalled Jiang Wan, who lived far out in the suburbs. Taking advantage of Wei Juan's absence, I disguised myself and knocked on her door alone. Jiang Wan hadn't expected me to visit her again. She stammered as she invited me inside, then poured me tea. The Ningyuan Marquis's household finances are all managed by the Marquis's wife. Lord Wei has no income now, relying solely on his monthly allowance. We've been living frugally. Things here can't compare to the Duke's mansion. Sister, please make do. I declined her tea, asking only if she'd ventured outside these past days or heard any rumors circulating. Jiang Wan shook her head. Since faking her death and leaving the Duke of Qi's residence, she'd lived in the countryside with Wei Juan. Aside from a maid who swept and cleaned, no one else attended her. Perhaps due to her awkward status, she had never ventured far, only exploring the nearby suburbs twice. She dared not speak casually with others, so she hadn't heard any rumors. I told her about the Jiang family's daughter becoming someone's concubine. Jiang Wan's face paled. Sister, I'm not. Wei Lang said that once he passed the imperial examinations and gained an official position, he would marry me as his legitimate wife. I'm not a concubine. The legitimate wife he intends to marry is not you. I sighed, carefully explaining the Wei family's recent actions to Jiang Wan before adding, Wei Juan has been deceiving you all along. If he truly cared for you, he would have urged you to return home with us when you severed ties with the Duke of Qi's residence. He should have then petitioned his mother to accept you as his wife. But he did none of that. What was he afraid of? Was he afraid you were born to a concubine? Or was he afraid his mother only wanted a legitimate daughter-in-law from a high-ranking family? If that's the case, when you were the secondary daughter of the Duke's household, they wouldn't even let you enter their door. Now that you have nothing, do you think the Marquis of Ningyuan's household would willingly let you in as their legitimate wife? Jiang Wan's face drained as pale as paper. She had grown up in the pampered luxury of the Duke of Qi's household, utterly unaware of the treacherous world beyond, where storms could strike with sudden ferocity. No, Wei Lang would never treat me this way. He promised to be mine alone for life. He's not like those vulgar men in the world. Wei Juan was indeed no vulgar man, for he was a man of utter ruthlessness and cold-heartedness. Having said this much, sister, you must carefully consider your own path forward. This silver will suffice for your monthly expenses. Though you must be frugal, you must still eat properly and dress decently. I set down the silver without glancing back at Jiang Wan, pulled up my hood, and left. After that, every 10 days or so, I'd sneak out at dusk to visit Jiang Wan when Wei Juan was away, urging her to reconsider. Under my persuasion, Jiang Wan's resolve gradually softened. She even spoke of wanting to be sisters again. I smiled. How could a dead person be a sister? Today was the 15th again. Counting from the last time, nearly half a month had passed. I stuffed the prepared items into a bundle and stepped out the door. When my eldest brother saw the servants preparing the carriage, he asked where I was headed. I gave him a destination. It's the start of summer now, when all things are fresh and elegant. Since you have a day off, why not invite some friends and go out to the countryside? My brother readily agreed. But just before departure, while he was fully dressed and ready to go, my carriage broke down. By the time it was fixed, the sun had already begun to set. When I arrived at Jiang Wan's place, dusk was falling. The wind was light and the trees still, and only the sound of the door opening startled a flock of birds from the empty space in front of the house. Sister, sister, the person inside answered and quickly opened the door, ushering me in as usual. Young lady, we just stand here watching. And that man, he'll be fine. I pressed my lips together. He's the actor I searched the entire capital to find, the one most skilled at impersonating women. Xiang Zhu fell silent. Not long after, a horse galloped toward us, taking advantage of the fading daylight. The fish has taken the bait. Go. Find someone to fetch brother. Tell him my carriage broke down again, stranding me on the road. Ask him to come collect me. The servant took his leave. Xiang Zhu and I sat quietly in the carriage, the green silk tassels of the willow tree above us occasionally brushing the roof. A storm was brewing. In the distance, the clatter of hooves grew louder. The carriages of the Marquis of Ningyuan came to a halt before the gate of the annex. Wei Siwei helped the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife down from the carriage. From afar, I heard her shout, "Mother! They say brother's concubine lives in this courtyard. Someone! Kick the door open!" Servants immediately rushed forward and kicked the door open. Wei Siwei and the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife stormed inside, followed by a clamorous crowd. My eldest brother had just returned from a countryside outing. Seeing my carriage approach, he asked a few questions before curiously remarking, "What's all the commotion over there? Such a racket?" I chuckled to myself. I hear it's the concubine the Crown Prince Wei keeps in the side courtyard. Brother, why not go take a look? Our Jiang family was slandered for nothing back then. It's truly infuriating. You should see for yourself who this concubine really is. Hearing this, my eldest brother promptly rolled up his sleeves and headed over. Before he even reached the entrance, Wei Siwei and the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife stumbled out, flushed and flustered. Trailing behind them was a man with half-shed clothing, his chest exposed, shouting all the way, "Madam! Madam! Don't leave! Wei Lang promised to marry me. Jiang Hua! Into the family! You can't go back on your word." The moment she spoke, the brothers were stunned. A man? Wei Juan had been keeping a male lover? That bastard! He claimed to have taken a Jiang family maiden as a mistress. But clearly, he'd taken a Jiang family man. My eldest brother stomped his foot in rage, lunging forward to confront Wei Juan, only to be restrained by his colleagues. The Marquis of Ningyuan's wife had calculated that few would venture to such a remote place, so she brought extra female relatives to catch the adulterers red-handed. Little did she expect to catch Wei Juan with a man. She rushed out in a panic, only to run into her eldest brother and the others. The chaos only intensified. By dawn, the entire city was abuzz. Wei Juan of the Ningyuan Marquis' residence kept a man as his mistress. Xiang Zhu recounted the story vividly, chuckling as she told me, "Miss, you should have heard the gossip outside, it was hilarious. They say the Ningyuan Marquis' wife, along with the Chang'e Earl's wife and her own daughter, went to catch the heir and his mistress. When they pushed open the door, the heir was lying soundly in bed, while a long-haired man sat beside him, undressing him, the Marquis of Ningyuan's wife. Thinking it some shameless woman, went up and slapped the person. But when that person stood up, they towered a full head above the Marquis' wife. And when they spoke, it turned out to be a man. Both the Marquis' wife and the Earl of Chang'e's wife were utterly shocked. Now, whenever the Earl of Chang'e's wife sees someone with long hair, she has to ask whether it's a man or a woman. The Chang'e Marquis' wife was sociable, and the Ningyuan Marquis' wife had pulled her along precisely to have her as a witness. The plan was to catch me and Wei Juan together, spread the news, ruin my reputation, and force me to marry Wei Juan whether I wanted to or not. She didn't know, she didn't understand me at all, nor did she understand Jiang Wan. She assumed that since Wei Juan had deceived Jiang Wan into marrying me, and I was Jiang Wan's elder sister, I would naturally tolerate her presence. Once Wei Juan passed his imperial examinations, he would divorce me and make Jiang Wan his legitimate wife. Everything would return to its rightful place, and Jiang Wan would surely consent gladly. Little did she know this was merely my scheme, luring him into the trap. My frequent visits to bring Jiang Wan gifts weren't just to show her Wei Juan's true colors, they were also to lure him into a trap. He thought I still cherished Jiang Wan as a sister. With the Ningyuan Marquis' wife egging him on, he schemed to have Jiang Wan drug me. His plan was to leave us alone together, then have his mother catch us red-handed. Little did he know this was the trap we sisters had set for him. The depth of Wei Wan's love for him was matched only by the hatred she felt when she saw him poisoning me and plotting to marry me as his legitimate wife. Jiang Wan threw herself into the river. Once Wei Juan came to his senses, he would inevitably seek her out for answers. She didn't want to see him again, nor could she return to the Jiang family. Drowning herself was her only option. The spot where she ended her life had swift currents. The Wei family found nothing but a pair of shoes. Wei Juan's reputation was utterly ruined. Not only would daughters from prominent families refuse to marry him, but even those from lesser households shunned a man who kept a mistress. Worse still, Wei Siwei's marriage plans fell through. The Marquis of Ningyuan's wife had shot herself in the foot. The Marquis, furious that she had allowed both children to act with such reckless abandon, bringing shame upon the family, raged that he would divorce her in the ancestral hall. Fortunately, the Marquis's wife was not among the 3 categories of women who could be divorced without cause. After shouting his anger out a few times, the Marquis relented. My marriage was finally settled to Lin, the son of the Minister of Rights, now serving as a compiler in the Hanlin Academy. The Qin family, who had proposed to my eldest brother, were related by marriage. Setting aside other considerations, the Lin family's tradition of forbidding concubines to avoid entanglements alone made it a marriage worth pursuing. Meanwhile, the secret guards dispatched to follow Wei Juan brought back news. After Jiang Wan's suicide, Wei Juan had been despondent for a time, but he had since begun venturing out again. He kept leaving the city to meet with people. Those he associated with were of complex backgrounds, every walk of life imaginable, including outsiders from the frontier. Our dynasty had existed for less than a century, having endured 3 generations of emperors before achieving its present stability. Yet warfare persisted along the frontiers. Foreign tribes, harboring wolfish ambitions, had repeatedly attempted to annex border cities, only to be repelled by our generals. My eldest brother had once served under Uncle San in the military. Uncle San was upright, courageous, and strategic, a rare military talent in our dynasty. Yet in his previous life, He was betrayed by treacherous men. He did not die on the battlefield, but instead met his end upon returning home in glory. This time, if Wei Juan dares to frame the Duke of Qi's household again, we'll see if he has the guts. Keep a close watch on him. If they exchange anything in secret, report it to me immediately. Whatever treatment he metes out to the Duke of Qi's household, I shall ensure the Marquis of Ningyuan's household endures it in full. Next March is an auspicious month. My wedding date is set, and the embroiderers in the mansion have begun rushing to make my bridal gown. Layers of blood-red fabric now cover the bed. Xiangzhu entered and handed me an envelope. Miss. The servant at the second gate said this is an invitation from the guide Marquis's mansion. They've recently acquired several fine orchids and invite the second miss to come and appreciate them. The guide Marquis's household had some connection to ours. The two mansions frequently exchanged visits and were quite familiar with each other. By custom, a young lady about to marry should not venture out casually. Yet, recalling that the heretical books Jiangwan had read originated from the guide Marquis's mansion, I accepted the invitation. On the appointed day, after dressing and adorning myself, I boarded a carriage bound for the guide Marquis's mansion. The Marquis's third daughter, Miss Su, was the same age as my third sister. Last year, the two had sworn sisterhood, yet this year they were separated by heaven and earth. Seeing me, she couldn't help but weep. How could such a fine young lady as Sister Wan vanish so suddenly? What dreadful illness had taken her? I handed her a handkerchief to wipe her tears, but first asked, "Third sister was close to you, often coming to play?" After she passed, I was sorting through her belongings and found several books. When I asked her maids, they said these were taken from your residence. Could you confirm if they belong to you? Miss Susan took the books, but upon opening just one page, her face flushed crimson. She stammered, "These books. I came by these books unexpectedly. Sister Wan, Sister Qing, and I formed a poetry society. We planned to meet twice a month for gatherings, spending a day together in merriment. Later, when the servants went out to buy books, somehow they brought back these volumes. We read them and found them astonishing. So, each of us bought a copy. Miss Susan, Jiang Wan, the eldest daughter of the Changyi Marquis's household, and others were known for their love of poetry and verse writing, gathering for literary pursuits. Their families were aware of these pastimes, but none could have imagined they would gather to read such scandalous books. I recalled an incident not long ago at the old Marquis of Jingnan's birthday banquet. The daughter of the junior minister of the Ministry of Rights fell into the water at the Marquis's residence. While changing her clothes, the Marquis's heir burst in and saw her naked. With no other option, the two families arranged a marriage between them. The daughter of the junior minister of rights was also one of the young ladies participating in the poetry society. It seems she too has been led astray by that wicked book. The author of this depraved text must be apprehended and exposed. Lost in thought, I suddenly heard voices from beyond the flower hall. Wei Siwei, whom I hadn't seen in ages, entered dressed in new finery alongside Miss Su. Spotting me, she gave a faint, mocking smile. I heard of second Mrs. joyous occasion but hadn't yet offered my congratulations. It's such a pity about your family's third miss. A girl as lovely as a flower. Gone in an instant, she didn't even get to share in her sister's wedding feast. She has the nerve to mention Jiang Wan to me. If not for her heartless brother and her mother's relentless ambition, how could Jiang Wan have vanished without a trace? Neither seen alive nor found dead? I let out a cold laugh. Not everyone is welcome to drink from my wedding feast. Take Miss Wei. For instance, whether she attends depends entirely on whether our household deems it appropriate. Wei Juan's abduction of Jiang Wan had already deeply offended the Duke of Qi's household. My mother would never grant the Marquis of Ningyuan's household the courtesy of allowing them to attend. You. Wei Siwei choked with rage. Su Degu, fearing she might cause trouble and upset me, hurriedly pulled her aside and urged, Gathering together to admire the flowers and drink wine is what matters. Please. Don't spoil the harmony. Unable to break free. Wei Siwei could only glare at me and spat venomously. Just you wait. The Duke of Qi's household will meet a bitter end sooner or later. We'll see how smug you are then. Her words struck a wound deep within my heart. Seeing Wei Siwei's foolish demeanor, I knew she wouldn't have spoken such words unless someone had hinted something to her. Or she had overheard something. It was Wei Juan. It had to be Wei Juan. He failed the imperial examinations and had his reputation ruined by my schemes. To redeem himself, he needed a monumental achievement. So he's planning to frame our Qi Duke's residence again? Place this item in the Ningyuan Marquis's study. Remember, somewhere inconspicuous yet easily found. I weighed the object I'd retrieved from Father's study lightly before handing it to the secret guard. This man was assigned to my eldest brother by my third uncle. He's highly skilled in martial arts and exceptionally meticulous. When I coaxed it from my eldest brother, it took quite a bit of persuasion. The secret guard was saved by my third uncle and raised by him. I regard him as a half-brother. And he treats me like a real sister. His expression darkened when he saw what I handed him. This is the border fortress defense map? Yes. Wei Juan, relying on memories from his past life, had drawn this map of the border defenses, adding foreign script to frame my Jiang family for colluding with enemies. The guard clenched his fists, seething with the urge to find an opportunity to slit Wei Juan's throat. But that would be letting him off too easily. I would make him reap the flames he had kindled, burning his own house to the ground. After instructing the guard, I silently returned a cloth bundle to its hiding place beside the city map, clapped my hands, and waited for good news. As the new year approached, triumphant reports poured in, and the palace bestowed many fine gifts. Father and mother were busy preparing for the festivities while also arranging my eldest brother's marriage. His wedding was set for the 12th lunar month. Though the weather was turning cold, mother insisted that marrying a new bride before the new year, coinciding with the festivities, would bring double joy. On the 28th day of the 12th lunar month, barely days after the new bride entered the household, the imperial guards surrounded the Duke of Qi's residence. The Marquis of Ningyuan submitted a memorial accusing my father and third uncle of colluding with foreign powers to secure boundless wealth for the Qi Duke's household. He claimed they betrayed the nation for personal glory, conspiring with barbarian states to put on a show for the court. His Majesty flew into a rage and dispatched the imperial guards to raid the Qi Duke's residence. Everyone in the household, from top to bottom, was placed under imperial guard. Standing amidst the chaos, I watched as the guards searched room by room until they discovered a bundle in my father's study. Beyond the crowd, Wei Juan's eyes burned crimson as he fixed his gaze on that bundle. He watched as the guards unwrapped it layer by layer, pulling out several oil paper-bound volumes. He gasped in shock, staring at the pages in disbelief. The Imperial Guard commander, equally incredulous, flipped through a couple of pages before clearing his throat and tossing the book aside. What worthless junk! Search again! The mansion was thoroughly ransacked from top to bottom. Fortunately, I had recently enforced strict discipline at home. Not only was there no incriminating evidence, but not even the slightest hint of impropriety could be found. Though father hadn't fought on the battlefield like grandfather, he'd weathered many storms. Seeing the Imperial Guard's enthusiasm wane, he appealed to their past friendship and asked the commander, Lord Han, "What exactly is the reason for this? I consider myself utterly loyal. Not only have I never colluded with foreign enemies, but I rarely even associate with officials stationed elsewhere. Why search our residence?" Lord Han sighed and whispered something to father. It seems that after our residence was burglarized, the constables assigned to recover the stolen goods apprehended the thief. After a beating, the thief not only confessed to the theft but also claimed to have seen something he shouldn't have seen in our residence. I smiled faintly, bowed respectfully to Lord Han, and explained, "Your Excellency, What the thief saw were likely the heretical books I purchased from abroad. These texts do not guide people toward virtue, they only teach wickedness and lawlessness, and have been translated into multiple languages. My daughter, suspecting some deception within them, bought several copies intending to have father report it to the court for investigation. We never imagined it would lead to such a misunderstanding. I see. Lord Han nodded in understanding. I picked up the book I had tossed on the ground and handed it to him. Continuing. This book is obscene and perverse, it truly should not circulate in the world. If you doubt my words, Lord, you may search the residences of the Marquis of Ningyuan and the Marquis of Guide. Lord Han weighed the book, his expression inscrutable. Yet having made the trip, he needed to report back. Thus, he turned and led his men to the residences of the Marquis of Ningyuan and the Marquis of Guide. Standing within the doorway, I gazed at Wei Juan and slowly broke into a smile. The Wei family had enjoyed their glory days under the old Marquis. But later, with no one joining the military, the Ningyuan Marquis held an idle post in court, unfit for any real responsibility. They had long yearned to return to the army and earn fresh merit. Wei Juan, having failed the civil service exams, now sought a path as a military officer. He said the Duke of Qi's mansion wished to preserve its splendor and wealth. Was the Ningyuan Marquis's mansion any different? Half a scroll of city defenses. A family's flesh and blood reduced to ashes. When the Wei clan was confiscated and exterminated, my new bridal gown was finally ready. Wearing it, I shone brightly, much like the raging flames rising from the Ningyuan Marquis's courtyard. When Wei Jian placed his blade against my throat, the wedding palanquin was already nearing the Duke's mansion gates. By some means, he had escaped the inferno, blended into the servants' quarters of my household, and slipped into my boudoir. Jiangji, it's been a long time no see. Wei Juan, who would have thought our reunion as husband and wife would unfold in such a manner? One of Wei Juan's eyes had been seared by sparks, half closed and half open, a terrifying sight devoid of his former handsome, spirited appearance. He stared at me as if examining a porcelain piece worthy of careful appreciation. They say the second daughter of the Jiang family is clever and quick-witted, unflappable in crisis, an excellent choice for a daughter-in-law. I must have misjudged you back then. He was wrong. In my past life, we were married for years. He was consumed by avenging Jiang Wan. How could he have spared me a single glance? Had he paid attention, he would have known I've always been this way. A young lady of the Duke of Qi's household, trained in poetry and literature from childhood, guided by her mother and governess, who among them isn't exceptionally wise. Gazing at the dagger pressed against my chin, I recalled that unsolved mystery and asked Wei Juan, in my past life, you blamed my entire Jiang family for Jiang Wan's death. This lifetime, I granted your wish, I let you and Jiang Wan fly together as a pair. Why are you unwilling now? Wei Juan fell silent for a moment. After a long pause, his voice grew hoarse as he sneered softly, don't think I don't know your true intentions. You hate me for loving another. Hate me for killing you in my past life. So you resent me and Jiang Wan, deliberately driving her away to make her follow me without status or recognition. You even schemed to make me keep a male lover as a concubine, ruining my reputation. Jiangji, how cruel you are. How laughable. When I gave Jiang Wan the choice back then, he was right there watching. He was the one who proved himself incapable, too cowardly to marry Jiang Wan as his lawful wife. Now he dares blame me? Wei Juyan, stop flattering yourself. I, Jiangji, have never harbored affection for you, not in my past life, nor in this one. Had your mother not schemed to frame me, your status alone would never have allowed you to wed me as your lawful wife. Impossible. Wei Juan's eyes flashed with ferocity as his dagger edged closer to my skin. We've been married for years. Deeply in love. How could you feel nothing for me? If not, Why would you harbor such hatred toward Jiangwan? Why prevent her from becoming the third young lady of the Qi Duke's household? Because I will never again allow your Wei family to have even the slightest connection to the Qi Duke's household. I won't let my father and brothers aid your rise in the court. And I certainly won't give you the chance to frame our entire Jiang family. He thinks that by controlling Jiangwan, he's bound to the Qi Duke's household and can force us to compromise? He's dreaming. You professed your love for Jiangwan, even slaughtering hundreds of my Jiang family members for her sake. I truly believed your heart was sincere. Had Jiangwan spent her life with you, and had you and your mother not been so arrogant, scornful of her birth as a concubine's daughter, had you allowed her to marry you as your wife, your Marquis of Ningyuan household would never have met this fate of having the entire clan executed. It was you who despised her origins, yet feared she could not grant you the fame and fortune of your past life. You and your mother schemed to force me into marriage with your Wei family. Wei Juan, you are heartless and unprincipled, shameless and depraved. Your deeds defy the laws of heaven. Defy the laws of heaven? What are the laws of heaven? I possessed extraordinary talent. I knew the events of past lives. I should have risen to the highest position in the realm. Yet you destroyed me with your own hands. Wei Juan, upon hearing my words, became frantic, his speech becoming incoherent. Had you not driven Jiangwan from our home back then? Had your father and brothers shown me even a shred of support when I rose to power, Jiangwan would have been the rightful mistress of the Ningyuan Marquis' household. It was you. All you. Your venomous heart. Your jealousy, you ruined Jiangwan. And you ruined me. Now you dare dream of marrying as a legitimate wife? Utterly delusional. I sneaked into your boudoir. Tell me, if the wedding party arrived and found you sleeping with me, how would they look upon you? Who would dare marry you then? When that time comes, if you don't want to die, you'll have no choice but to stay with me. Have your father arrange a new identity for me. We'll start anew as husband and wife. Once I become commander of the Imperial Guards, you shall be the commander's lady. He was lost in fantasy, as if his sweetest dream had come true. I glanced down at his dagger, smiled faintly, then drew a blade from my sleeve and thrust it straight into his heart. Wei Juan cried out in pain, the dagger clattering to my feet. He stared at me, unable to believe I had killed him. I wiped my hands with a handkerchief. Wei Juan, did you think you could sneak into my boudoir without my permission? Last lifetime, you showed no mercy when you killed me. An eye for an eye, this lifetime. I killed you. We're even now. You. Wei Juan tried to speak, but alas, that stab had been practiced long and well, precise and deep. His eyes remained open in death. But the secret guard genuinely worried for me. Has the bride's gown been stained? I shook my head. The blood-red wedding gown, even stained, it would be unnoticeable. Brother, dispose of him. I must prepare for my wedding. Meanwhile, news spread that the publishing house printing heretical texts had been raided, though the author behind the scenes remained untraceable. After the wedding, seated on the high platform, I listened to the young actors sing the lyrics. Most beloved is Westlake in February. Peach blossoms drenched in rain. Willows veiled in mist. 10 lifetimes of cultivation to share a boat's crossing. 100 lifetimes to share a pillow's rest. Unconsciously, I beckoned for someone to fetch the lyricist from the troupe, promising a generous reward. The lyricist arrived. Through the gauze screen, I could only make out a slender, petite figure. This servant greets the lady. The voice was low, yet not masculine in tone. Now it made sense why he always wrote of inner chambers, why he constantly urged women to pursue love blindly. He was a female lyricist all along. Remove the gauze screen. I revealed my face to look at her. She stole a glance at me too, but when she saw me staring intently, she instinctively turned her head away. Madam, why are you staring at me? I chuckled. You're so bold when writing your books. Urging young ladies to defy their parents' will and reject matchmakers' words. Why are you suddenly so timid now? The lady tutor froze. Then pointed at me. You know all this? Not only do I know, I replied. I've read them. I recalled the books Jiangwan had become utterly obsessed with, wondering why she wrote such things. Do you realize how many innocent young women your books have ruined? At this, the lady tutor flew into a rage. How could they be ruining them? I only write for their own good. Born in this era, what good is being a precious young lady? They're still just puppets, manipulated by others. As a woman myself, I refuse to see them blindly married off, forced into servitude, living miserable lives. I write to urge them to be themselves, to aspire to greatness, to courageously pursue love. Have I done wrong? It's not me who kills them, it's this cannibalistic feudal morality. I picked up the book beside me, flipped to a page, and pushed it toward her. You urge them to defy parental commands and reject matchmakers' words, to follow only their own desires and cling to romantic attachments. Yet you never wrote about how they should survive after leaving their families and homes. Nor did you tell them how to face the gossip after eloping without a matchmaker. You only urged them to blindly pursue love, unaware that once they sever family ties, they become rootless and helpless, ultimately forced to depend on men and be manipulated by them. So, are you still not at fault? I. The lady tutor stammered, stumbling over her words. After a long pause, she countered, But I also wrote that women need not be like climbing trumpet vines, clinging to others for survival. They can be ambitious and strategize with great vision. I also wrote of women who, disregarding distinctions between legitimate and illegitimate offspring, devoted half their lives to the greater good of family and nation. You cannot focus solely on romance, there must be ambition too. Ha! I laughed coldly. May I ask, young lady, is His Majesty the Emperor male or female? Are the ministers in court male or female? Who drafts the laws, male or female? Who holds the household reins, male or female? Women born into this age are shackled at every turn by men, yet you still demand they believe men's lies. Why not write of ungrateful men meeting violent ends? Ministers with multiple wives suffering divine retribution? Or playboys who never rise to greatness? If we seek to awaken, let men be awakened too. Why teach women only to fight within the inner chambers, yet fail to teach men to respect and cherish women, to take pride in women's participation in governance, to honor their wisdom? Because the female teacher couldn't find the words. I tore up the book and tossed it into the burning stove beside us. Start anew. A new publishing house has opened in town. If your writing is good, take it there for printing. The pay will be double what you earn in the theater troupe. Really? The female tutor's eyes lit up again. Will you keep your word? Of course I will. The proprietor of the publishing house is surnamed Jiang, with the single character Wan. We share some kinship. Jiang Wan. Jiang Wan isn't your concubine-born sister. She's my third sister, not a concubine's daughter. I forgot to mention, in most households, legitimate and concubine-born children aren't treated much differently. Every family wishes to spread their branches and multiply their roots. Outsiders judge lineage by the father, not the mother. When a father prospers, his children's status rises with him. Children from all branches share the same blood. When one prospers, all prosper. When one suffers, all suffer. Next time you write, there's no need to emphasize legitimate versus illegitimate status. It's best not to let the reckless believe it's true, lest it ruin the marriage prospects of good children. I rose, had the lady tutor escorted home, and then had Xiang Zhu deliver a message to Jiang Wan. The second young lady said that if her marriage proves unhappy, She will seek a divorce and come live with Manager Jiang for companionship. Manager Jiang must manage his affairs well. The end.